For this video, I just want to talk quickly about how to manage rendering multiple shots and a lot of scenes all at once, whether you've just one machine or you've got multiple machines and you want to set up something like a render farm. I'm going to keep this quite short, but I just want to show you some of the options that you have and how to use them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have the Blender manual right here, which you can find online. In Blender itself, you can, under the Help tab, go to the manual. Now, I'm going to go down here to the Render section. And way at the bottom here under Workflows, we have this little tab that says Command Line. So there is a way for you to render Blender files from the command line without them opening and just rendering stuff in the background, which is really nice. Now, the reason I'm showing this is whether you're on Windows, Mac, or Linux, this works on all three, and it's a really quick and easy way to queue up multiple renders on one machine. So you can read through this and have a look at it, but I'll show you a more practical application of it in just a second. So there's for all platforms, there's enough information on how you can do this. Now, I'm going to push this up for a second, and this is how I do things on Linux myself. So I'm just going to deconstruct this very quickly and show you the very, very basic commands. There's a whole bunch of extra ones, as you can see here in the documentation. You can look through them and see what works for you. So for me, I've got my file set up with where all my final renders need to be saved. So what I'm going to do is I open up a terminal and I point it towards my Blender installation directory. Now, mine is just in my home folder in an applications directory. I don't really have a reason for doing it like this. I know people will probably cringe when they see this, but it doesn't really matter. Whether you're on Windows, Mac, or Linux, you have to point your initial command, obviously, to where Blender itself is, and you can find more information about that on the documents as well. Then the first command after that will be -b, which basically means you're going to render just in the terminal, and Blender will stay in the background, and you'll just get some output in the terminal of exactly what it's doing. Then the second part of this terminal command is just me pointing it at where my Blender file itself is. So I have multiple, I have a directory here, which is a network disk, and I'm basically saying, okay, in the Blender Motion Graphics folder, I have a production folder, and I've got one of my titles here queued up, and that's what I want you to render. Now, this -a flag basically means it renders the whole animation, so the way it's set up within the file. Now, I like doing it like this because I can just set everything up in the Blender files that I need, and you can add as many of these lines in as you want. So, for example, if I want to add title 2 from the project, I go Media, Antissa, Clients, Blender, BMG, and this is quite a long path, but it doesn't really matter. Production, I've got my blend files here. And then where are we? If we look at the other one, in the titles folder, I want title number 2 dot blend, and if I hit -a, if I hit enter now, which I'm not going to do because there's some stuff running in the background, but if I hit enter now, what it's going to do is it's going to run through all the frames that it needs to render in the first title animation, and then it's going to go over all the frames that it needs to render in the second title animation. So if you just have one machine, but you want to render multiple things, let's say overnight or whatever, this is a really quick and easy way to do it, and I definitely recommend looking into it. Now, for the second example, I'm going to talk very quickly about the Flamenco Render Management, which at the time of recording is still in development. It's a Blender render management which the guys over at the Blender Institute are creating themselves and are using on their own productions right now. It's in beta as I'm recording it, but I think soon enough we'll have some versions that will probably be fairly easy to work with and to install and set up. Again, this is render farm software, so you're going to have a computer that handles all of the communication to other computers that render. This is something that you can use, quite easily to distribute rendering over multiple computers. Now, for the time being, as long as this isn't super stable and very easy to install yet, I've got another alternative, which is cgru.info is the website, and the render manager is called Afanasi, and I hope I'm sort of saying it in the right way. But this is much more than just a render farm manager. It can render multiple applications, Blender included, but After Effects, Cinema 4D, Clarice, Fusion, and so on and so forth. So I've used this in the past quite a bit. It can be a little tricky to set up, especially if you haven't really looked into it that much, but if you take the time to read the documentation, they also have a forum where you can ask questions. This is a really, really cool piece of render management software, and it's open source and free as well. So that's great. So I hope that points you in the right direction for the stuff that you need if you want to render a whole bunch of stuff all at once. And yeah, that's it for this section.